On today's show, walking pigs, managing heat stress, and anxious showmen. Let's go.
To the Front, the show that answers questions for stock show families. Presented by TTF Nutrition, livestock supplements that get you to the front.
Welcome to the front. I'm Tony Morris, joined as always by the lovely and talented Thomas Gross. Thomas, tell me about your life.
You know, I don't think my life looks nearly as exciting as yours does. You look to be on location and getting a suntan.
We are on location. I do not suntan. I will be much redder by the time we're done with this episode because tanning is not in my DNA.
I was going to ask if you put on the sunscreen. Yeah.
I might freckle just a little bit. Yeah, so I am at Springfield here at the Team Purebred National Junior Show, and we are set up at the Elite Show Supply booth here. Clint is one of our dealers. He's out of Kansas, but he's in the Midwest quite a bit, representing Weaver. So we took an opportunity to be here. Clint is just off camera. I'd let him get on here, but he's way better looking than me, so we're going to make him sit on the side.
Is Clint operating the camera for you then? Is that what we got? He's the cameraman, Clint?
You know, I've got a saying, you can't trust anybody with good hair, okay? Clint's hair's not great, but it's better than mine. So I'm afraid if we let him operate the camera, I'm afraid of what we would get on the camera, right? He might just turn around and make it all about him. And I want it to be all about me. So it's going to be one of those things we're going to fight just a little bit.
Hey, not a problem. I mean, so that means you trust bald people. You and I are in a pretty good spot together over here.
I'm not for sure, but you and I might be the most trustworthy people that we know, you know?
Hey, that seems like a good plan to me. Excellent. Hey, we've got some awesome questions tonight, and we'll roll through those. And, you know, with that sunshine, I don't know if you can see your questions, so I'm going to read them to you, and then we'll have some fun going after them.
That will be good. There's a few people walking by here that might wave, or if you hear somebody yelling from the sidelines, well, we just got to keep moving forward.
Okay, we'll try to just, you know, have the confidence to push through that. So the first question, Cooper sends us an awesome question. What is your routine for walking pigs?
Oh, that's a good one, Cooper. What is our routine for walking pigs? Well, you guys do a great job of this, so I'm going to let you have the last word. I will tell you our routine has changed a lot. When we first started, I was of the opinion that we had to get them out and drive them like crazy for 10, 15 minutes at a time. And these things would get hot and tired, and we just had to make them fight through it, right? And that was always my thought on walking pigs. And we've kind of changed, and now we get them out of the barn, and once we've let them go to the bathroom and kind of leg up and stretch, and they're ready, we put them up on the whip with either me or my wife, and we go for 5-ish minutes. Sometimes we'll push it to 6, 7 minutes of just driving them, and I tell my daughter, like, drive them like you're trying to win the bear show, right? As hard as we can go, just like you need to. And then when we're done with that 5, 6, 7 minutes, then we take them for kind of a distance lap, right? And when we do that, we probably let them relax a little more. We probably don't ask as much out of them. We let them just kind of stroll just a little bit. So we'll drive them for 5 to 7 minutes, and then we walk maybe another quarter mile, maybe a half mile on long days to let them kind of build some stamina as they're tired. But we probably only have them up on the whip for 5 to 7 minutes at a time is kind of what works for us. And for the most part, our pigs have good enough stamina, and we don't have them break down very often. So I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but that seems to work at our house. You got smaller kids, and you got a lot more pigs to train than we do. What's your plan for walking?
Yeah, you know, I would say our goal is that we probably get every pig out of the barn every other day. You know, Dad would love it if it was every day, but like as you mentioned, we probably put too many of them on feed sometimes, and that's my own disease coming through there. But, you know, so for us, we basically send the kids out walking, and I want them up on the whip, and we have a path that they go on, and they leave the barn and they go on that path. They walk straight away from me so I can see them leaving, and I can see them coming back and see how they're handling kind of the walk. But it's about a 5 to 7 minute path that the kids have. I normally take that time to pick pens. So if the 2 kids take them on a walk, I can get those 2 pens picked as they're walking and they're back. Then we go ahead and rinse those animals down and then go ahead and put them back into their pen. So about 5 to 7 minutes is about all we walk the majority of them. And my thinking has been, if we're driving for more than 7 minutes at a time in a class, it's pretty rare, I guess, is the way that I think about that. So ideally, you hit a class in a big show, you make a couple passes, hopefully we're getting weighed, right? And so hopefully we're going to a holding pen after driving for 30 or 45 seconds. That's the goal. Doesn't happen nearly as often as we'd love, but that's the goal, right? And then when they get reworked the second time around, that's normally a 2 to 3 minute drive. So we drive these things hard in the show in 2, 3, sometimes 4 minute spurts. So if they can drive 5 to 7 minutes at home, we're probably in pretty good shape. After we do that with all of our pigs, then we go back through and we grab our showmanship pigs. And we will take those out, and I'll go ahead and stand out there as the judge, or if we've got somebody else helping or mom helping, we'll show to that judge for probably, that's where we'll go 10 to 15 minutes probably at that point in time. So that pig will have had its 5 to 7 minute walk. It'll get put back up. We'll finish the rest of them. We'll come back out 10 to 15 minutes with that showmanship animal, because we have found plenty of times, the Grand Drive at Expo showmanship final was probably a 10 to 15 minute ordeal. And so they've got to drive a little bit longer than you might in your market or your breeding class. So, can you overdo it is sometimes a question that I've seen, and I think you can overdo it. We used to try to push through, like you talked about, push them through that tiredness, and let's see if we can work them. And I just found that we were just getting them more and more ring sour all the time, and they kind of hated leaving the barn sometimes when we would do that.
We do the same thing. We do the same thing in terms of, like you mentioned, kind of use the time where they're out. So that's part of the reason we do the way we do is, I can get out there with them and I can see them go hard for 5, 6, 7 minutes, and I can see them the whole time, and you get a really good handle on, man, how's that pig moving, or my feed change is working. We do all that. Sometimes I shoot my videos at that same time in the middle of their routine that I send off to breeders, or, I just video them once a week anyway. And then when they take that longer lap for us, where we let them relax a little bit, but make them kind of keep going to build stamina, then I can go in and clean pens. And if we got enough help, then we'll be getting the next group up and brushed and kind of rinsed off and get them ready to go outside. And so we kind of use that time a little bit when we got enough help around there. But I'm with you. I think you can overdo it. I think you get them to the point where I tell my kids it's just like, I was not a great athlete, but played some athletics. We didn't start off trying to run 3 miles the first day of practice. We started off trying to run a mile, and then coach worked us up to whatever distance we needed to go. And that's kind of what we try to do at home.
And I think as we've made these things, I'm going to call them chubby athletes, I guess. we don't like them to be, super thin like we did in the late 90s. Like, we want them to have some cover on them. Asking a chubby athlete to go for a 30-minute walk is probably asking a little bit too much of them.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
We're building sprinters, linebackers is kind of the way I think about it. We're not building marathon runners. And so we need some endurance to withstand the drive, but your marathon runners aren't built like your linebackers, and linebackers don't go run marathons.
I love the idea of a chubby athlete. I feel like that really encompasses what I try to be in life, a chubby athlete. I work out, but I love M&Ms, like it's tough.
What good's insulin if we don't use it every once in a while, right? Excellent. Hey, next question that we have sent in, and I think we've seen this one a little bit more recently as we're starting to get into the heat of summer here. Jennifer sent in and she said, in the past we've had pigs go off feed and grow more slowly when it gets super hot. What are some ways that we can prepare for the heat?
Yeah, I think about every pig is prone to going off heat and growing slowly. And even the commercial barns I work in, they know certain times of the year, certain months of the year, those things are not going to grow like they do, in the early spring or late fall when it's just more reasonable temperatures. So it's not just show pigs that deal with heat stress. It's all animals. What do we do? At my house, we, obviously air circulation and air movement is absolutely critical. And it's amazing with pigs how cool they can stay if you just have air blowing over them, even if the air's not blowing down directly on them. So just keeping that stuff keeping that air moving across them, I think, is really important in your barn. And the one thing I think gets overlooked quite a bit is not only do you need to blow air, you also need withdrawal air. So you need to make sure that if you got a fairly tight sealed barn, that you have exhaust fans as well to keep that air moving and keep it fresh. And then from there, there's nothing wrong with a lot of rinsing and doing everything you can do with cool water just to keep everything cool, right? No different than, if you're at home and your air conditioner's not working and you can't sleep in the middle of the night, get up and take a cool shower and you feel better. And that's the same kind of thing that you get with livestock as well. So air movement, lots and lots of rinsing, paying attention to them. Also making sure they're hydrated and they don't get dehydrated in that process is really the key to keep them healthy and keeping them on feed through hot months. But I think the other thing to keep in mind is animals just aren't going to be as aggressive when they're hot all the time. And most animals, June, July, August, September, in our part of the world are going to be warm. They're going to be warm a lot of days. So I just don't expect that same level of performance in them during those months is what we get. Otherwise, my biggest thing is I'll keep them as comfortable as I can, keep them well hydrated, keep plenty of air movement, keep pens clean, and give them a chance at least.
I think for us, we shift our schedule a little bit too as it starts getting hotter. And it's an old show cattle guy over there. You're probably used to this a little bit, but when it starts getting hotter, and I realize, hey, it's going to be 90 and humid by 8 a.m. That probably means I should get up at 5:30, go rinse those things, feed at 6 before it goes ahead and gets hot. Go ahead and get feed in them. And then on the backside of that, I might not feed till 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night when it starts to cool down. Get them out, rinse them all the way down, get those things cooled off, and then go ahead and feed them. I think that's a great way to try to control body temperature a little bit more. And I think, think about them a lot like humans, right? Heat of the day, if you were working outside all day, you probably don't want to eat lunch at noon sitting out in the hot sun. And when you're hot, you'd probably rather eat early, eat later after you've cooled yourself back off. And I think that's a great way to think about with those pigs. I think we've had some pretty good success too, seeing feed intake be more consistent with feeding them Thrive all the way through too, right? Keeping gut health in a better place. If that animal is hot and they don't feel 100% or their gut feels a little bit off, they're probably more likely to not consume and eat nearly as well. If their gut's in an awesome place and we can get them cooled down, we find consumption goes up just a little bit there as well. So every little bit extra that we can help, and I think gut health is a good place to start with that.
Yeah, it definitely is. The other piece, and not to sit here and plug all of our products, but when it is hot, a daily punch of a little electrolyte, like hydrate, midday is kind of like if you were outside working all day and you drank water, and at midday somebody handed you a cool Gatorade, right? That Gatorade's going to really perk you up quite a bit and replace some of those electrolytes and some of that, salt that you're losing in your body, and then go back to water. So I think that's another thing to keep in mind. Even if you're not getting ready to go to a show, electrolytes are a good way to manage heat stress as well, and making sure that a hydrated animal is a healthy animal, and a healthy animal with good gut health is more likely to stay on feed.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about animals that don't drink well won't eat well as well. But if they're not drinking well, they won't eat. And so one of the things to think about is, where's your water line running in your barn? And actually, when I put my water line in, we've got an old wooden barn. I intentionally did not run it against the outside wall where the sun was going to hit, because if that water gets hot, they go to hit that cup water and that water is 105 degrees. They're probably not going to drink. To your point, now they get dehydrated through the day. They don't consume feed nearly as much at that point in time either. And so now we're in a really bad spot, versus if you can even flush those water lines, get the hot water out midday, get that water back down to a 70 or 80 degrees, kind of let them, go hit the cups for them and let them know that water's cooled down. Sometimes they'll start drinking for you as well, and then go back to eating a little bit better.
We've got I wish I could turn the camera around. We've got the volleyball, the Team Purebred volleyball match going on. We've got a group of guys. They may or may not fit the method of chubby athlete, that are wearing bikinis over their jeans and shirts was their team attire for the game. And believe it or not, they didn't win. It's hard for me to believe. I mean, they really looked like they were poised for success.
They were poised for something.
Yeah, they were.
Is there a costume contest later tonight?
I think the costume contest was earlier today, but nobody told that team. They thought it was going on right now, I think is what happened. there's no way they wore that on purpose. That's what I'm going to say.
Or at least no way that their wives let them wear that, that they didn't know about it. Third question comes from Amber. When we get ready to head to the ring, my son gets very anxious. Any tips to help keep them calm?
Well, my kids would tell you the best way to stay calm is don't hang out with me, right? There's Jimmy Thompson walking by. Yeah, my kids would tell you the very best way to stay calm before you go in the ring is don't have dad close by. Probably would be part of it. So my kids are a little older, right? So we don't fight this as bad as like some kids, younger kids in particular, that are still nervous and get anxiety, those sort of things. And so we're kind of a little bit past this. I will tell you, it's for me, and my daughter is this. It happened to her today. She was so excited for showmanship today and was so poised to get out there and, had these big, huge aspirations of top 10 and doing all this. And she came out and she did a nice job, but because she was a little worked up, probably was a nickel too aggressive, probably got a little too close, right? Probably didn't do her best job, did a good job, but not her best, and didn't make the cut, right? So we have this conversation all the time that as bad as it is, sometimes you just got to commit yourself to trying easier. Everybody wants to try harder. Sometimes with anxious and high anxiety people, it's a matter of trying to find ways to just try a little easier. And that's certainly something that Charlie Morris needs. And part of the problem is her dad. If her dad wasn't around, it'd probably be easier for her. The one thing that I try to tell all my kids, and this was, my son played a lot of baseball. I talk about it all the time. And if you know anything about the game of baseball, it's a game of failure. And you have, 7 out of 10 times you are not hitting the ball or not getting on base. So I always just talked about, this is not your last time. It might not have been your best time, but there's going to be another opportunity. And trying to keep that in mind that, I got goals and I want to accomplish things. But this is not the last time I'm going to have a chance to do that. And so I'm going to take an opportunity here to do everything I can do. And if it doesn't go my way, then I know that I've got another opportunity. I'm going to get going. And that probably works great until it is your last time. And then maybe the anxiety comes back. But that's always what we had, whether it was taking an at bat in baseball. You're going to get 4 of them a game. So if you strike out on the first one, you got 3 more, right? God gave you 3 strikes in the game of baseball, so use all of them sometimes, right? So that's kind of what I tell my kids relative to showing is, okay, swing and a miss. Nobody cares what you look like when you miss. They only care how far it goes when you hit it. So take a swing. If it doesn't go well, we're going to take another swing. And that seems to work with my kids. But you've got younger ones. You probably fight this more than what I am. So, what do you do with your little guys and girls to keep them kind of locked in and not let themselves get too worried?
Yeah, I think in some ways Isaiah started showing when he was 3 or 4 years old. And so he could be on the biggest stage, and we were driving at Expo a few weeks ago, and he was goofing around before we went up there. And so he just thought it was no big deal. And that's partially because we've done it so many times before, and we've hit a lot of jackpots. So he is used to hitting the ring. He is usually used to, hey, this one's going to act up in this way. And so he knows his pigs very well, and he knows the setting very well because he's been through it a bunch. So I'd say if you do have a child that gets a little bit more anxious, how can we go to the jackpot and mom and dad, before we get there, take a big dose of chill out, right? And how do I walk up to the ring with my child, and we're just going to the ring, we're just going to go show, and then coach to myself beforehand, regardless of how they do, we're going to start with something positive when they come out of the ring, because it's really easy for us competitive show parents to very quickly want to correct whatever went wrong, and then that builds more anxiety, I think, the next time. So my son's pretty relaxed, but I think that's partially because we've done it so many times. My daughter, on the other hand, is much more sensitive to going to the show ring. I know dad likes this pig. I want to do well. I want the pig to behave well. If it doesn't, probably internalizes that a little bit more. And so, a lot of times I'll tell you, my wife walks her to the ring, and my wife stays a whole lot more calm on these types of things. And dad walks away and he goes and stands in the corner and watches from there. And normally I am extremely proud of her regardless of what happens. But then I got to remember, I got to start with the positive when she comes back out. And so repetition, Mom and dad, be positive whenever we can. It's really easy to focus on the negative. Let's start with some joy. And the reason that we're doing this is for our kids to have fun. And if we take the fun out of it, they're going to want to stop doing it. And I know it's expensive. I know we've put a lot of time and resources into it. We all feel that. But if they don't have fun, then there's no reason for us to be doing this.
That's my sentiment exactly. I actually saw and it was a baseball podcast, a guy that he coaches his son, and then he's also kind of a high-level baseball guy, but he always talked about him and his son, he got tired of him and his son having awful car rides home from baseball tournaments or baseball games, and he realized that it was him, and so he had a new code that when he was wearing his team ball cap, he was coach, right? And it was going to be a learning opportunity, and he's a great coach, but he would coach while he was wearing his hat. And he said before he got to the truck or the car to go home every time, he intentionally took his hat off and threw it on the dashboard. And at that point, he become dad, right? And dad is proud of you. And dad is going to take you for ice cream, right? And dad's the guy you can talk to if things don't feel good or go well, right? Coach, you don't necessarily get that from, but you get that from dad. And I think that same methodology can be applied to this activity as well. That there's a time for correction, and there's a time to help young people get better at something they care about, and there's a time just to goof around and have fun and buy ice cream and just enjoy the fact that you're together at a family. And I think more often than not, kids get anxious as a result of watching parents get anxious. And if that's the case, then the help maybe isn't for the kid, maybe the help's for you as a parent. And finding ways to keep yourself, more relaxed, finding ways to keep things in perspective. I am wound up. I am a high A. I want to be the best at everything we do, and I am the one in my family that gets people spun up. I know that going into it, right? And when I talk about helping my kids with anxiety, I'm not really helping them. I'm helping myself. And when I help myself with it, the kids mirror that and they mimic that. And so we just go to the ring and try to have as much fun, and we joke around about, hey, we don't like this pig, or hey, we're not, and we just try to decide that no matter what happens, this doesn't matter as much as we think it does. And when we keep that in mind, it goes well. It's days like today when we try to put too much emphasis on it, it doesn't seem to go as well. So that's kind of our methodology at home. There's a time to be coach, wear your hat and be coach. But more often than not, what you need to do is take your hat off and just be mom or dad. And mom or dad love you, and mom or dad are proud of you, and mom and dad buy ice cream and just have fun because they love being with their family. And I think if we can keep that in mind as parents, anxiety with children seems to kind of disappear a little bit.
And this is the great thing I think about this livestock project is, yes, you have your target show, but there's almost always another show next week. And so if your kids got a little anxious in the ring this week, or mom and dad, you realize you got a little worked up either on this class, there's probably another class coming later in the day you're going to show in. Let's try again. Or there's another show next week. Let's try again. Let's keep working and getting better at it. We always talk about this is one of the best industries to raise kids in. One of the reasons is because we get to keep practicing these things over and over again.
That's exactly right. I mean, I'm sitting here right now. We're at a pig show. There was 4 divisions in showmanship, which means there were only 4 kids that won showmanship today. I've not seen a kid walk by me this afternoon at this pig show or this evening that has been in a bad mood, right? And there was only 4 of them that got to win. But suddenly, the pig show's just a pig show, and my buddies are here, and we're playing volleyball, and, it's amazing how good life can be when you keep it in perspective. And I think that matters for the parents more so than the children most of the time.
Awesome stuff. Well, guys, as a reminder, Tony and I are preaching to ourselves just as much as, we're giving reminders here. And we can tell you these things because we've both done all the wrong things at a pig show before, right? And so, guys, let's have fun with it. If you guys have other questions, though, we're really loving the ramp up in questions that we're getting from people. So send us some more of them. Go to our website. You can find our podcast links. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcast. I think that's a thing as a Google guy over here. We're on YouTube if you really want to watch the back and forth as well. Leave us a review as long as it's 5 stars only. And, Yeah, let us know how we can help you guys.
No more 1-star reviews. That's the only rule we have. If you're going to give us a review, make it a good one, right? Don't waste your time with only 1 star. Give us all the stars.
They're free to give out.
That's right. That's not going to cost you a thing. Yeah, so 2 things for me when we sign off. First is hashtag be nice. Find somebody to treat well today. See how that goes. So be nice. Other thing is, to the front, baby.
To the Front has been brought to you by TTF Nutrition. Livestock supplements that get you to the front.